So we live, my brother.
What's going on with you, bro?
I'm cooling, man. I'm cooling. Thank you for taking the time out to come on the platform today. Tell us a little
You
bit
know,
about the NotSoPodcast podcast.
this is just a brainchild of the moment. That basically means that in the moment of inspiration, you just harness that energy and make action. And you, as a man of action, decided that, yo, let's do something. You got on StreamYard, you got a camera, I got a camera, you got lighting, I got lighting. Hey, how about we just do some flash shit real quick? And here we are with the Not So Podcast. But we got so much stuff in the works that this is just a Not So Podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. So buckle your seatbelts. Let's see if we can send some links out and see if we get some people to join in. We'll be going
Yeah.
live out today.
We're going live on YouTube. We're going live on Facebook. We live on LinkedIn. We out here. We out here. So what are we touching on today? What's our focus for today?
We got to talk about, I do want to talk about holistic and healing. I know we got a lot of things going on with the Mercury retrograde or the eclipse. A lot of things going on with that. I believe, feelings, what's going on with that. This time we got a couple of things that we can talk about.
Right.
Certainly want to talk about roots, tribes, and the herbs that you are, cooking up there in your area. I definitely want to be able to reach into that and see what's going on with you, what you got going on with that as well. And we'll talk a little bit about growing as well, because I feel like we can actually start off there because I think growing is important, and you are a master. I would call a master grower of things. But one thing about food, which is beautiful about food, is that it gives you the work. You know what I mean? When you buy food, if it has a seed, it gives you the opportunity to do it over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like you got an orange comes with seed, put it in the ground, you got it give you the opportunity to redo it. You know what I mean? It's like cocaine coming with the recipe. You know what I'm saying? It's like here it is. Taking it, run with it type shit. So, when it's all said and done, I think it's important to grow. I think it's healthier to grow. And I think that we can maintain, we often talk about pesticides and things of that sort. But when you do grow your own, you have an opportunity to determine what is utilized to grow your food. So, Ferdinand, tell us a little bit about growing and what you got going on. Tell us a little bit about growing.
Well, we're really blessed right now. We've just entered spring, and this is one of the best seasons for growing vegetables, fruits, and so many other things. Some people like to grow flowers, some people like to grow trees, other people like to grow vegetables. Some people like to grow shrubs, bamboo, all kinds of different things. So this is a great season for that. And I encourage as many people as possible to start walking that path of gardening. And even if they didn't go down the path of gardening, maybe going down the path of foraging and learning a little bit more about their environment, plant life, and understanding the connection that we all have with nature, that we need to, what's the word? We need to cultivate, and we need to nourish, and we need to nourish and cultivate that relationship with nature.
I agree. I agree. Growing to me is patience. I had multiple plants. I had a friend who was really into plants, so I had multiple plants, and then those plants somehow died. So I no longer have those plants, but I have one that's been holding on for dear life. I'm not sure if it's Ezekiel. I'm not sure what the name of it is. However, that's about as far as I go with growing because I understand it's a very patient thing, and I forget to plant my own plants sometimes. You feel me? And I got all the stuff to make them grow or to cultivate growing.
Okay.
However, give us some tips. And now there was a guy on YouTube who was really good with growing. Like I think he still kind of goes around. But he just, he gives you real easy, simple ways to grow, to germinate seeds, which I think is the most arduous process to me. Let me just show you this. First of all, from a person who needs to grow, who doesn't, I'm just going to show. I'm going to tell you um my top 5 reasons for not growing right now. First of all, it's the time it takes to do it. It's the germination of the seeds. It's knowing the times and seasons to plant things.
Yeah.
That's like, wow, okay, because certain things are in season, certain things are not. So, and then plus being in the climate, getting to know your climate, there's just so many variables and barriers to entry when it comes down to growing. However, I do think it's important, and I do think it's something that needs to be done. So make it easy for me, bro. That's all. Make it easy for me.
Well, when we think about plant life, we got to think about the four elements, but we've also got to think about the well, technically it would be the four elements. So we're talking about minerals, airflow, water, sunlight, right? So these are the four main things that you want to focus on when it comes to a plant. Now, obviously, you've got certain plants that want more of an alkaline nature than they want acidity. Then you got other plants who want more acidity than alkalinity, right? So it varies, per plant. And most of the time when we get seeds from a vendor or we get a plant from a vendor, they've got information, that's with those seeds or with that plant, and we just got to make sure that we're following the directions. Now, the other option is for us to do some Google searches, do some YouTubing, and take a look at what the plants that we choose to have in our garden, to figure out, what they need to thrive. But at the core, what we know they need is water, minerals, sunlight, and airflow. And within the mineral flow, how we operate is NPK, right? No, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium.
So those are things that you need to have within your soil, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Proper
Where do you find
balance.
where do you find good soil at? Is that
Well,
something that you
what
is that something that you buy, or is that something that what I mean?
it just depends. You got some people who they go and buy their soil, and you can do that if that's what you choose to do. Um, what I do is I go to locations that have a lot of manure, horse manure, llama manure, various big animal manure, and then I mix that into my soil, and that gives me the effect that I want of organic material in the soil, but it also gives me the opportunity for my plants to have a chance to not be eaten by deer or other animals that are walking through the neighborhood, because they smell those other animals' manure, and they think that those animals are nearby or that they live where my garden is. So it works out. It helps to keep squirrels out and other animals. I mean, there's a bunch of different animals who, they'll eat up your garden if you don't have certain things in place. But that's how I construct my soil, right? There's many ways to construct soil, right? So right now I just started my first batch of marijuana, of cannabis for the year, right? And I'm going to
Nice.
do some staggered grows. Thank you. And so what I did with the soil is I did probably about I did a 50-gallon pot. So I did about 25 gallons that were horse and llama manure, rabbit poop, all that mixed in, right? And it was cured. It had a lot of worms in it, right? A lot of bugs. So it was great. And then I put some perlite in there, some vermiculite, some peat moss, and some lime, right? And
Hmm.
this puts my soil in a great position to give the plant what it needs in an environment to thrive, and for the root system to not have to work hard to stretch and it's got more space with that 50-gallon pot than a 10-gallon pot, right? But the soil composition really matters, pending what type of growth you want to have in whatever plant that you're growing by the end of that season.
Hmm. Is there seasons for cannabis? Like, can you grow cannabis year round, or is there no seasons for that?
Cannabis can be grown year round, right? But when we think about growing cannabis a year round, we have to live in the reality that cannabis prefers a tropical type of environment, right? So
Climate, yeah.
it prefers heat, so if you're going to grow in the colder months, you're either going to have to be closer to the equator, or you're going to have to be growing more than likely maybe in a mylar tent or in some type of a controlled environment, right? And if you do it that way, then absolutely you can grow all year round. So let's say you were doing a hydroponic operation, right? Well, you could take that hydroponic operation and all year round, as long as the temperatures don't get out of control, you got temperature controlled space. You can do that, no matter what the seasons outside are doing, but you're going to have to maintain electricity, right? That's going to be a big piece for your operation is electricity stays on at all times, right? Because if it goes off for a considerable amount of time, let's say a couple of days, your plants might die because the fans are providing the airflow, and without that airflow, they're going to suffer. They're going to suffocate.
Interesting.
Now, if you're growing outdoors, right? So if you're growing outdoors, then whether you're in Pennsylvania or if you're in Virginia, your growing season is going to be somewhere between March and November, right? And that's going to be your months where you're going to want to, if you want to grow, that you're going to want to have your seeds in the ground or in a pot or whatever for outside, because you gotta get that benefit of the sun and what it's doing as we get closer to it during those summer months.
Oh, interesting. Now, what climate, and I'm absorbing all this, so I'm making some few adjustments to my set here. Because now I'm sharing the link out now. I gotta, this is too fly to not go live all the way. So now we got to share links out and get, people watching or whatever it may be. So we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook. I'm about to send out the YouTube link as well. So we're just two bros talking. It's the NotSoPodcast. Sometimes you just got technology and just want to use it. And here we are.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, just out here doing live tests and stuff.
You feel me? But let's talk about it, bro. Let's go right into it, man. We was talking about that Diddy situation, man. We started this, bro. Now, I'm just throwing it out there. I know we're right to it, right? And we're just throwing it out there, but we see that his son got well, Justin got, well, Christian, I guess. Christian, the other little, this is his
I
son,
heard
hope
about
his
that.
life on. Yeah. So let me just say this. To me, I'm not an apologist for the bro. It's doing no Diddy if that's what you want to do. That's on you. But it's starting to get ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. Like it's starting to feel like a witch hunt, and it's getting. And at some point, we got to just say, all right, bro, it's enough is enough. Now there's a lot of victims, I guess. He ain't been charged with nothing. And now again, I'm not a Diddy apologist. I'm just saying at some point we gotta let the truth be the truth. You feel what I'm saying? And so to me, this just feels petty. It just feels like somebody he did something wrong to somebody, and somebody was like, all right, you've been doing what you've been doing too long. Let me press the
Well,
button.
let me jump in. Let me jump in here, and because I think what we need to pay attention to is spiritual energy, right? So
Hmm.
Diddy's major rise, obviously, he was in a few different music videos and things like that as a dancer in the 80s, but
Hmm.
his major rise came as an executive in the early 1990s, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And right now we're in the early 2020s, right? And when you think about spiritual energy, you're also
Hmm.
thinking about your connection with the celestial bodies, right? So Saturn, for example, right?
Yeah.
Saturn gives us justice every 30 years. It takes
Hmm.
30 years to make one revolution around the sun, right? Well,
Okay.
Diddy's situation, he is, in my opinion, right? He is dealing with what a lot of people would call universal karma. That
Hmm.
show it kind of is like a measure of our energy. The scales get balanced every 30 years, right? So that's what I'm seeing in this situation. And I'm not just seeing it from Diddy. I'm seeing it from many other entertainers, politicians, and various people throughout the world. Nobody escapes the energy. Nipsey Hussle said that best. He said, listen, man, you might run away from the cops once or twice. You might cheat on that test. You might get the A, right? But you can't, and nobody escapes the energy, bro. Like everybody has to account for the energy for their input, and they got to get that output. You can either get paid a price by the universe, or the universe ends up making you pay a price.
So many things I can say about that, but I'm gonna leave it here. I'm not leaving here. I'm gonna continue the conversation by going this way. To your point, we have heard, like, I'm born in the 70s, so around the
Sure.
90s, everything happened for me. I was born in 77, so the 90s, everything happened for me. I was in middle school, high school, graduated, had kids, got everything in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And throughout the 90s, even during that time, we was hearing all type of wild shit about what Diddy was doing. Like, let's keep it real. Like, this has been stuff like you hear whispers. If you in the hood, you're gonna hear people saying stuff. It just is what it is. And there was people saying wild stuff about, and then at some point in time, if you look back into your Googles, you'll find that there were a lot of people who were promoting these same freak offs or parties as a destination, as something that is desirable to go to. The white party. Diddy started all that stuff up, when he was doing his little. And again, I'm not an apologist. I'm saying, like, a lot of these
I
young
mean,
kids, they hear
all of
Diddy
that
for the
goes
first
deep.
time. A lot of
All
it
all of
goes deep
all,
because
all of all
because
of
the
it,
thing is,
all
I
of that
came from the
goes deep.
90s, because I came from that era where this shit was live. Like, I was hearing all these releases live. Like, a lot of people can go to Spotify and hear the stuff that we was hearing when it was fresh off the press. So it's a little bit different. And then, and young folk gonna say they want to say about the 90s or whatever, but that was a good era of music. And so again, during this time, we heard all these things. And again, it was people who was promoting his party. That was everybody want to party with Diddy. Everybody want to party with Diddy in the early
Yeah, but
2000s. And so
but
say his party
this
now
is
that
the
are
thing.
the suspect.
You're right that a lot of people were promoting these parties and all of that, but what we've got to do is get down to the bottom of it, right? So why were the parties happening in the first place? I mean, we could think about it from a perspective of, people wanted to have fun, they were celebrating and all that, but I think it goes a lot deeper,
Yeah, I
and
mean, like,
it's
mm,
more about people having control and putting other people in a position where you have certain types of leverage that you gain from their vulnerable states, and now they're moving in the industry certain kinds of ways. Like, look at the industry for the last 30 years, bro. At least the last 30 years. How many artists have committed suicide? How many of these artists are having mental breakdowns? They're in rehab and all these different things that are happening, right? How do we get to that point? A lot of people will sit back and say, oh, well, it's their own personal choices, and they're right. It is these artists' personal choices, but what are they going through in an industry that gives them the key to their wildest dreams, to get to a point where you get your wildest dreams, but now you're either ready to take your life, or you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff to practically destroy yourself and destroy your family. Like, and it's too many of them that's doing this. How are we getting there? Right. Well, I think that Diddy is a big piece of this machine that's getting them there. I'm not even saying that he's the head of it. I'm just saying that he's a big piece of it. I think he's being directed by different people who are being directed by different people who are being directed by different people.
but when it's all said and done, he the one taking the heat right now. And again, I want to repeat, I'm not an apologist. I believe the dude is probably guilty of 90% of the shit that he's accused of. But he hasn't, there's no charges that's been put out there. And at this point, again, back to my original point, bro, and I get the energy, everything. This is looking like a witch hunt, bro. Like, and then it just feeling like he did somebody, he said something, did somebody wrong, or somebody was on some like, yo, some they may say it was the Ciroc, the whole thing with the balling agents. That's what the Breakfast Club reported. They talked about that, which I might go a little deeper because he was when he stepped up to the little. This is when I first thought that okay, something about to happen with the nigga. You feel me? Like when he went before the little when he did that speech in front of the Grammys or whatever and said that this is he started exposing the music industry or whatever, and it, he a part of the to doing the dirt, but he did, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I get it. So that's when then he would start talking about giving back the masters. We start transitioning over to love or whatever. I think it was at that moment. I think I personally felt like, okay, something ain't right, or he might have just been that ahead of the story. You know what I'm saying? Where he was just on something like, man, my shit about to come out. Let me just get ahead of it before it starts moving, and let me get 10 years ahead of the spin. Because there has
Bro,
been people.
he started getting ahead of the story. That's part of the reason why Pac ain't here no more, bro. That's part of the reason why Big ain't here no more. That was him getting ahead of the story.
Allegedly. Oh, that's
I don't know.
allegedly.
I don't know if you've seen the I don't know if you've seen the recently released Tupac album cover, but it had a very interesting drawing on the front of it that if I was a major mogul, I'm not saying I would do some diabolical get rid of a person type of stuff, but I would be trying to figure out some kind of way to get rid of that album. I don't know, to get rid of that album cover. If there was some books that was being published from some people that were very close in my camp, I'd be trying to find a way to get rid of that material if it's about to expose some things that my boss's boss is not proud of. And normally when my boss's boss ain't happy, people get found floating in the Hudson River.
Well, I don't know too much about nothing. Only thing I know about is what's being reported and what I actually lived through. I can't go off of allegedly. I wasn't there. However, what I can say is from what I know, from what I experienced firsthand, is that there's been reports about what the bro been doing for quite some time. And so if the bro, I don't, to me personally, it doesn't matter to me what you do with your private parts. That got nothing, it's not my private parts. So that got nothing to do with me. You
Yo,
feel me? So
is this a replay of Stevie J? Is this another
I
thing
don't,
for Stevie J?
I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm saying it's my point of view on the whole situation. I hear Stevie J, you know what I mean? I heard he was trying to fight 50 Cent. I don't know nothing about that, but I'm just saying, like, from my point of view,
He said the
like, I'm
exact
just
same
saying,
thing you just said about the I don't know what people do with their private parts or something like that. Stevie J said the exact same thing
how
on his
about that? I might have
social
heard it
media.
subconsciously, you know what I mean? But when it's all said and done, I feel like as a man, I've been kind of making that same stance. I was just trying to clean it up for the net because I want to say it a lot differently. You know what I'm saying? I want to give it to you a little bit more raw, but I'm just trying to clean it up for some viewers. You feel me? What I'm telling you is this:
PG
there's
13,
never been
please.
there's never been a conversation with me about the whole LGBTQ conversation. I never had to have that conversation because I simply just don't care. Like I simply don't care about what people do with their stuff. I don't care about where you put it, how you do it, because it's not coming. It's not because nothing to do with me. So whatever you do in your bedroom, that's on you. If you want to publicize that, that's on you. But don't make me the only problem I have is when you force me to care like you now you want me to care about that shit. I don't care about that shit. I don't care about nothing you got going on in your bedroom. Who you can do what you do. But I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? And the way I do it it's the more traditional way. Because I just feel like when you look at it as I'm a creative, as you can see, I'm a creative genius. And so I see form and function, and I see that we have an Audi and the opposite has an innie. Audi goes in the innie. It just makes sense to me. And then from that, reproduction happens. And you make
You know
more of
what?
you.
So
It
I
just
so I want
makes
to
sense
say
to
that
me, bro.
I want to say this, like when it comes down to the whole Diddy situation, I think that if Diddy's camp was moving intelligent right now, and I'm putting this out there I'm putting this out there, right? I think that how Diddy could really win right now is if he put some music out right now. The whole world is
He
watching Diddy.
did. We've been begging this. I'm still like another thing. We ain't gonna
When? When
hold
did
the
when did when
music.
did when did it
He
when did
just
he when
released
did
the
he drop new
album, bro. The
music?
album is dope. Oh my goodness, the album is
No, I'm
super
talking about like
dope.
did he release an album in the last week?
Bro, he dropped that joint. They dropped that joint last year. It was
No, man.
what's
I'm
the
talking
name of that
about
damn
him
album?
dropping. I'm talking about him dropping an album with it, like right now. Like if he dropped an album right now, the whole world is watching Diddy. Like the amount of streams that would happen from
The
that
Love
music.
album off the grid. The Love album off the
Yeah,
grid.
but that's last
Well,
year. No, this is not since he became like he is the biggest story in the world right now. That's not a
no.
political story.
He got an album. What I'm telling you is he has an album out now that he can still promote. You know what I'm saying? The album came out within the
It's not.
cycle, so he can still
It's not the
promote the Love
same.
album, bro.
It's
Off
not
the
the
grid. No,
same.
because with the bar,
The
it's the
blogs
same because
go crazy. The blogs go crazy when you got something new that you're putting out.
no one's fucking with the Diddy album, bro. It just is what it is. Like it just no one, not a new one. You know what I
I'm
mean? It
not.
just is
I'm
what it
not
is,
saying.
bro.
I'm not saying that people would be happy that he's putting out music. What I'm saying is because he's one of the biggest talked about stories right now in the world. If he puts out some music right now, it is gonna go crazy in the streaming numbers. That's
Unless he's a
easy to
man,
see.
unless he start a man, let's he do an album, let's he do an album called let's he do a record called No Diddy, and then he explain, he come out the closet and shit. I don't think that's it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you some advice, Diddy, bro. Come out with it, address this shit head on. Come out with a record called No Diddy and just give it all up, bro. Just you know what I mean? Just take it away. You gotta take the power away from people. Don't give them the power to blackmail you, bro. Like, just tell the truth, let it be out there. So what? You know what I mean? Whatever you like to do with your thing, what you do with your thing, bro. And I'm like, man, if you're making good music, you're making good music, bro. That's all
Yo,
I'm here for. If the music is
what's
dope, it's in it, and if it's not, it's not. I don't got nothing to do like with the R. Kelly's
G
nothing. I'm
G
still
Dep
making
just
R.
got
Kelly's
out.
all out, bro. The music is the music. Hello?
G Dep just got out. What
What?
yeah.
Special
Do you remember
delivery.
do you remember what he got what he went in for?
I think the whole story was I think I just watched it on YouTube too. I think he ended up shooting somebody or something. I forget what happened. But he had a whole story, but the story made a lot more sense than him just going to jail. But I think it was I forgot. I know. I saw it, but I can't remember.
Well, I guess that's entertainment news for us. What other topics you think about for the
The Not So
No
Podcast
Podcast
podcast, but we
podcast?
just
The
we
Not
just
So
jumping around
Podcast
all types of
podcast.
topics. There's topics everywhere. You get a topic. You get a topic. You get a topic. so so there was another thing I wanted to talk about is why is there so much exposure to this thing? And I don't, like I said, I don't give a, I don't give a damn either way, man. It just,
Why
it
is there
just,
so
it
much
just
exposure to what?
to the whole Diddy situation, and it just, I mean, we gonna slide off of that. I'm sure we're gonna transition out of that, but I don't know, man. I feel like as to not sound like what they just say no Diddy, I'm gonna say no Kanye, right? Because I feel like there's a level where the Jewish media is definitely involved with putting this out there, but you don't get this type of coverage just to have this type of coverage. Jaguar Wright been saying all this stuff about Diddy for years and get none of this press. You know what I mean? His bodyguard Gene Deal been on YouTube for years saying this shit. None of this press. Now all of a sudden he piss off somebody. Now every day is something new. He's getting raided. He's in Miami walking around. His son is now. It's just too much, bro. And again, I wanna wrap my thought up as like this. It's getting too much. At some point, we gotta just, as the black community, man, we gotta fall back and watch this thing unfold because again, we knew about this shit. We knew what the into. We had there was some speculation. I'll say that allegedly or whatever it may be. So we knew what it was. I think at this point, I'm not going to support these white dudes, whatever it may be, whatever this agenda is against the bro. I'm not going to support that agenda. If he did some foul stuff, then bring him up on charges, bro. Bring him up on charges. Let him, do all that. But what we ain't going to do is we're going to keep on sitting up in here and just run him after the calls, and we ain't got no charges. We know what we know. And if we're okay with it this long, then what we going to be mad about it now? The ones who got all the offenders, they're going to get the lawsuits together and they're going to be well recompensed. You know what I mean? They're going because Diddy he was already on the breakfast show saying, hey, anybody got some valid claims, I got you. You said that already. That was months,
Whenever,
that
whenever,
years ago.
whenever you have federal agencies doing the kind of things that they're doing, they're strategizing. right? So the thing
We'll
about it is
see.
this, like, so what would be wise is this, like, because like you said, we don't know anything. We've got very few pieces of information, but what we do know is this: Diddy is able to move. He's able to get in his jet and fly places. If I was him, I would carry his ass to a non-extradition country, and I would go ahead and get comfortable there. Because if this thing ever does blow up with these federal agencies and they find what they're looking for and they go ahead and they start serving warrants, Diddy's, once they get him, he's never getting out of prison. I guarantee you that. Whatever happens to it, he's
I
not
can't
getting out.
speculate.
He's not gonna. It's not gonna happen.
I,
So
I can't
with that
speculate
kind
that
of with
far,
that
but
kind
they
of
ain't been brought up on no damn charges yet.
I'm not his advisor. So like, I'm not giving official advice. But if I was him, and I mean, I would never have pulled no crazy stuff like what these allegations are. But if I was him and I was in this type of situation, yeah, like I would take that money. I go on over to whatever country that I think is pretty dope, non-extradition, and I'd get real comfortable with the people like, and become a new resident. Because once the Americans come for Diddy, and if they ever come for him, I guarantee you they're gonna get him. If he's in America, I don't care where in America he is. If they come for him, they're gonna get him.
Whatever he did
It
that
will
was
be bad.
foul, whatever he did, if anything that was foul, hope whatever charges get brought up, he got to handle that. You know what I mean? That's what he got to do. You feel me? But in the meanwhile, if the dude come out with a bop and if he come out with a dope song, I'm definitely playing it. It just is what it is. I'm not holding the music. That's all. That's a, I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. I'm just because I like the music. I'm not gonna hold the music accountable. Like this has been a lot of moral failures on behalf of
He
every
said,
artist that has
he said,
ever
I got.
sung.
He said, I want a Harlem Shake
Hey,
though.
listen, we talking about now. Listen, this is where it's the hypocrisy of man, right? This is where you're on some. Okay, I'm not gonna listen to R. Kelly because it way there to them girls, but you listen to Chief Keef and all this King Vaughn and all these drill rappers literally talking about killing people, bro. Like literally talking about killing people who look like you, and then you get mad. Anybody here, bro? Come on, man. You ain't canceling these niggas. You're not gonna cancel these niggas for talking about killing people who look like you, your sons, your daughters, but you trying to cancel somebody. Listen, if the victims is the victim, I'm not victim shame. Listen, they gonna do what they gonna do. They gonna get it right. But my daughter, I'll be on R. Kelly's head too. But at the end of the day, I'm the type of dude that'll be like, if you did something to my daughter, I'll be on R. Kelly's head, like bumping his music on the way though. You feel what I'm saying? Like I'll pull up on the homie bumping his music, like they do, like we gonna handle it, but your music is still your music. If I was dating, if I like that, I still like it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the hypocrisy of people to say, we ain't gonna listen to one thing, but you listen to this. And then there's so many artists who have done so many wild things. You know what I mean? I'm not holding the music accountable for what the artist has done. If the music is dope, the music is dope. If the artist is an asshole, the artist is an asshole, period. And then we're gonna separate the music. Because you can't start you start going into that canceling people for it just goes into some wild stuff. And I try to simplify life, and that's just way too complicated for me. If I like the music, I like the music. I don't got time to try to figure out, well, because you did X, Y, Z is the reason why I can't like this song. That's crazy, bro. I can't do that. It's just me, and you're coming, and you're talking to a music lover, bro. Like, I really mess with music heavy. And so I'm not going to let the music be held accountable for what these artists are doing. The artists have,
Well,
and we want to separate that. The artists have done something that has, and you don't know what your favorite artist is doing, though. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm sure there has been a lot of artists that have done good and bad. But at the
so
end of the
let's so
day,
let's
if
trans
the
so
music
let's
is good to you, let
transition.
the music be good to you.
So let's transition it, and let's go to something a little more dense. Um, Throw out any topic that actually like really matters to you.
Religion matters to me,
All right, let's
or
dive into
not so
that.
religious matters to me. I don't know. Good friend of mine, I've been on this whole deconverting thing, right? Because I started seeing religion from a different perspective. And I
Okay.
started saying, because I one time I was a youth pastor, pastor, all these different things. I just started seeing, at some point, I just started seeing church from a different perspective. and I started getting a lot more information too. And again, I started telling people as I was going through my deconversion stage, it wasn't something that I just came to. It was something that I was kind of like, well, nobody just said, "Hey, Jay, I'm a apostle or apostle, whatever apostle I do, or get you to the point where I'm going to try to convince you." It was nothing ever like that. It was just like the ebbs and flows of life just brought me to information that I gravitated toward, and the energy, it was there. It was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. This is the things I'm supposed to be learning. And my bro Brady from Cross Movement, the fanatic, he had a I started seeing him early though. Like he was on some like he said he had this song come out called Nigger, right? And I'm like, that's from the Cross Movement. Cross Movement was like super clean, theological. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't on none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like they was definitely, toting the Christian flag heavy. And but he came out with a song called Nigga. And I'm like, okay, I started seeing his transition, but that was around the same time, about 2000. That was around 2015, 2010, around the same time. I started like seeing things a little differently from a religious perspective. And then he later came out with a song with a book called Let There Be Gaslight. And it was talking about his deconversion. Now, this was a big thing for me because the Fanatic at one time was not my favorite rapper across movement. He was the worst. But then over time, I was appreciating his grind because it seemed like every record, every album, he just kept on getting better and better and better. And to the point where when his album came out, he had his own album from the I think I still have one of his songs on my playlist too. That song was crazy. The whole album, made his wordplay, the bars, his cadence, it was just he got it all together. Because at first it sounded like he was all beat a little bit, and earlier costume and stuff. But later he got the cadence right, got it on point, just started. It was nice. He was just nice, nice. And so I was always a big fan. And so when he came out with the Let There Be Gaslight and started talking about his deconversion from the theological perspective, he was starting to answer some of the same questions that I just had from a general perspective, like he went to how he discredited the book of Genesis and then started saying how all the dominoes kind of fall from there. But we have like the commentaries, like if you need to know if you need to know something about what's going on in the Bible, you read the commentary. And one thing I never really did was like, let me question the comments. Let me question the writers of the commentary. Let me question the writers of these particular books. And so if you read the book Let There Be Gaslight, then you start unraveling some things and it's super dope. And I'm just going to give you enough to kind of read that on your own if you want to. But then I also bumped into a dude, Billy Carson. And Billy Carson started talking about the Anunnaki, started talking about the book of Enoch. And, like, you know what I'm saying? He just started going into some real, like, it was just undeniable, the information that was just coming. And that was being disseminated. So I was just like, yo, bro, I need these parts of this. So it was, and again, all this just came to me, and then I just started seeing like how I started seeing the church from a different way. It started looking like the same movie over and over again. Like every Sunday, it was the same movie. It was like the script ever going to change. You know what I'm saying? It's like we got the praise and worship, we got the offering, we got the preacher, we got the shouting, boom, we got the prophets down, we got the same. And I was raised in the church, literally raised from day one. And so I've seen this. I'm speaking from not from a person from the outside looking in, but from somebody who was born in it. You know what I'm saying? Like preacher's kid on both sides. Both my grandparents were pastors, you feel me? And so, but now I'm saying that even as a result of that, the same model that the church is sticking to, you gotta start looking at some things differently. Like we say we got all this power in the church, all this power, but churches are some of the most ghettoist communities. At least black churches are. And if we got all that power, why is not that power leaking out into the community and really being about change? And so after tirelessly working to do a lot of different things, and this was just bumping my head again, a lot of different things. It just got to the point where I'm like, this ain't it. A lot of run-ins with church and church folk. But the thing is, I have a son who's heavy in the church, and I'm like supporting him heavy. Like my thing is, I'm not anti-church, I'm not anti-religion, I'm not even anti-American Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like if that's what you want, That's what you want. You know what I mean? If it's working for you, let it work for you. You know what I mean? So I'm not even on that. That's why I'm not even on the whole theological. I'm not going to break down all the different pieces. I'm just going by what I feel, and it just is what it is. You know, a lot of people have a lot of breakdowns and explanations for how they feel, what they feel, and no debate. Mine is not up for debate because this is what I. It's what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like I have no debate for you. I don't have a don't have a breakdown of the theological thesis for why it is what it is. And just, I just see things a lot different, you know, and I just see that the religion is just a construct of the American corporation, where at some point it's okay to be labeled a Christian nation, but not really uphold what would be Christian values, you know, and that and you have it just you start seeing the different things, the different hypocrisies and I just, I don't. It's just so much to go into. We might have to do like a part three, part four, part five on that whole breakdown because it just, I got a lot of differences to where I think, and I don't want to come across as someone who hasn't got my argument already broken down because I do. Just I'm trying to edit a lot of it because I know some people who may be wondering about where I'm at is going to be watching this and no turning, just going to have a lot of questions, and I'm just in a position where I want to be back where I don't really want to answer your questions because I just don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, you do realize that's your life to live. You gotta live it, bro. And that just, again, when you start saying things a little differently, you just start saying things a little differently. And, when it's hard to start from a different perspective, there was no way I can see it. What's your thoughts, bro?
Well, when it comes down to what we see in people waking up, we've always got to go back to the connection to the celestial bodies, right? So we've recently we've moved past the vernal equinoctial point, right? So when we look at precessional energy, the precessional revolutions that the earth makes on the polar region, um we have a cycle that happens every 25,960 years, or 20, excuse me, at 25,920 years, right? Well, we just crossed the threshold of a great month, right? And that great month being coming from Pisces into Aquarius, right? And these months measure 2,160 years, right? And then on top of that, we've entered into a new great year, right? So in addition to us going into a new great month, we went into a new great year. Every time we go into a new great year, we step into a matriarchal energy, a feminine energy, a positive energy, right? So when these things happen, what you start to see is people awakening. The energy is helping people be able to read their DNA. The change in the way that they're eating, these plant-based diets, is moving toxicity out of the body and helping them be able to see with their third eye, right? So these things manifest as a result of the as above, so below, the connection of the celestial bodies to the energy of the beings, whether those beings be human or those beings be plant life or those beings be other types of beasts or animal life or fish in the sea, fowl in the air. At the end of the day, we're all connected. And this is the second principle of the seven hermetic principles. Now, my point to everything that I'm saying is this. When you have this many people awakening in this fast, in this, I mean, it's happening very quickly. That is by design. Now, we could look at it like it's the design of man, or we could look at it as the design of the creator. It's up to you to choose.
Well, that's what's up. I'm team vague all day, so I'm with it. I'm here for all the vagueness, the ambiguousness of vaguity. That's